Hello there, I'm Shafika Razali. Thanks for joining me this Monday on 7Edition. The headlines. Karmaini Sardini named as the PH candidate for the Tanjong Piai by-election. Sales girl acquitted of reckless driving that caused Johor's fatal Basikalaja accident. And Hong Kong slumps into a recession amid endless protests. We begin tonight's bulletin with this story. Karmaini Sardini has been named as the Pakatan Harapan candidate for the upcoming Tanjong Piai by-election. Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia President Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin made the announcement today during the launch of the PH election machinery in Pontian, Johor.
Calonnya ialah Tuan Haji Karmaini Sardini, Ketua Bersatu Bahagian Tanjong Piai. Tahniah kita ucapkan, maka saya buat ini melancarkan kempen dan gerak kerja jentera pilihan raya Pakatan Harapan Tanjong Piai. Pakatan! 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 Terima kasih.
Karmaini is a 68-year-old architect and a former teacher at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Teluk Kerang. He was previously an UMNO member but contested as a PH candidate in the Pontian parliamentary seat in the last election. The Election Commission has fixed November 16 as polling day for the by-election, which was called following the death of the incumbent MP Datuk Dr. Muhammad Farid Muhammad Rafiq due to heart complications on September 21st. Now, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has stressed that only the Pakatan Harapan Presidential Council can decide on his position as Prime Minister. The Premier said suggestions from the opposition's members of Parliament for him to stay as Prime Minister until the next general election was only their opinion. However, he stated that the PH Presidential Council also has the right to ask him to stay on. He was speaking to Malaysian reporters after ending his two-day visit to Turkmenistan on Sunday. Tun Dr. Mahathir also repeated that he could not place a specific time frame for the leadership change to take place as the country presently has problems that are not easily solved. Now, on a separate development, PKR says it has accepted many former UMNO members into the party's fold, and the deciding factor is that one must adhere to the party's reform agenda. Its president, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, said it was for this reason that there is no strong opposition to former UMNO loyalist Datuk Sri Saleh Said Keruak joining his party. Speaking to the media in Penampang, Sabah today, the PKR Supremo also said that his party is well aware of Datuk Sri Saleh's previous links to UMNO.
He was stalwart in defense of Najib in the past, but he says that now he is very committed to the party struggle. We just have to consider. I'm not saying that that should be a decision. I was quite a committed member of UMNO in the past. But you must, I mean, to me, what is not negotiable or which can be compromised is, or we must not be compromised, is the fact that you must adhere to the reform agenda. You see, you must accept the fact that this is a party reform.
Datuk Sri Anwar added that there is no rush for the party to decide on Datuk Sri Saleh's interest to join PKR. Datuk Sri Saleh, who left UMNO last December along with other party members, said he chose to join PKR because of its multiracial policies. Now, an update on the fatal Basika Laja accident in Johor 2 years ago. The Johor Bahru Magistrates Court today acquitted a 24-year-old woman who had been charged with reckless driving that claimed the lives of 8 teenage cyclists. The court also ordered for Sam Keting to be released after ruling that the prosecution has failed to prove a prima facie case against the sales girl and decided not to call the accused to enter her defence in the case.
Judge Siti Haja Ali said several factors were taken into consideration in delivering the verdict. Among them was the fact that the road was dark, hilly and windy, and the driver could not foresee there would be a group of cyclists on the road at that hour. There was also no evidence that she was driving under the influence of alcohol or using her phone while driving, all factors showing that she was driving responsibly at the time. The judge also reminded parents to look after their children to avoid an accident like this from happening again and asked the police to act sternly against this activity. On February 18, 2017, a group of 8 teens, all aged between 13 to 16, were riding modified bicycles known as Basika Laja at 3:20 a.m. along the Middle Ring Road in Johor Bahru when Sam crashed into them. She was later charged under the Road Transport Act, which provides a jail term of up to 10 years and a fine not exceeding 20,000 ringgit upon conviction. A total of 46 witnesses were called to testify and 214 exhibits were tendered during the hearing, which began in August the same year. Meanwhile, another group of kids have been caught on camera riding their Basika Laja on the road at night in Taman Muda Ampang, putting themselves and other motorists at risk. The video was recorded by a taxi driver who witnessed 2 of the cyclists crashing their bicycle as they raced each other. The taxi driver even repeatedly honked at them, warning them to stop, but to no avail.
You orang mahnya susah lah.
You orang apa tahu? Gila kali orang. Mak bapak tak ada belah lo orang ah.
Ah?
Ah? Mak bapak you tak ada belah kah?
Jangan fikir tunggu sini, tunggu sini.
Tunggu. Mak bapak you tak ada belah kah? Haji.
The video ends with one of the cyclists falling off his bicycle and wounding his knee.
A 42-year-old car salesman is feared to have drowned after jumping from the Sultan Yahya Petra Bridge into the Kelantan River. The 10 a.m. incident was witnessed by a passerby who then informed the Fire and Rescue Department. The man, who was reportedly suffering from depression, had ridden his motorcycle to the bridge before jumping off. 22 firemen, including a water rescue team from Kota Bahru and Kota Darul Naim, were rushed to the scene. But strong river currents caused by the rain hindered the search and rescue operation as the water had turned murky with low visibility. As of 4 p.m, they have yet to find the victim and are now focused on a 1-kilometer search radius. Now, police will let their Thai counterpart probe the death of a Malaysian man whose body was found with gunshot wounds in Narathiwat, Thailand on Sunday. Kelantan Police Chief Datuk Hassanuddin Hassan said so far the police have not received any other information on the case from the Thai authorities.
Tak. Pasal berlaku di sebelah negara sana. Walaupun rakyat sini, tapi berlaku di sana.
It was reported that the Malaysian man was shot dead with 5 gunshot wounds found on his body in front of a cemetery in Sungai Golo around 4:30 a.m. local time. The deceased was identified as 28-year-old Muhammad Faizal from Rantau Panjang. Preliminary police investigations revealed that the victim had earlier quarrelled with 5 men near the scene before he was gunned down by the suspects. Elsewhere, 2 orang asli men were killed while 2 other people were injured in a 4-vehicle pile-up in Jerantut, Pahang last night. The 2 deceased were identified as Radin Apu and his friend Ahmad Bustaman Fauzi, aged 25 and 33 respectively. District Police Chief Superintendent Mazlan Hassan said the 10 p.m. incident at Jalan Jerantut Maran involved a Toyota Hilux, Proton Wira Aerobac, Proton Iswara and a motorcycle. According to several witness accounts, the Hilux had swerved onto the opposite lane and slammed into the Wira and Iswara. Radin, who was driving the Iswara, and Ahmad Bustaman, who was sitting in the rear passenger seat, died on the spot from severe body and head injuries, while another passenger in the car, Tiwani, aged 40, was badly hurt. A 17-year-old teenager who was riding the motorcycle was also injured after he failed to avoid the wreckage. Both injured victims were rushed to the Jerantut Hospital and Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah Hospital for treatment. Authorities added both the Hilux and Wira drivers escaped unhurt, and police have recorded their statements to facilitate investigations into the cause of the crash under the Road Transport Act. Coming up, intoxicated man gets bashed for allegedly causing accident. Details next. Welcome back. On to the Essex lorry deaths in the UK. Britain has sent documents to Vietnam to help identify some of the 39 people found dead in a container, as fears mount that most of the dead were Vietnamese. This after police took forensic samples from people in central Vietnam who believe their family members might have been among the dead. The documents will help with the complicated task of identifying the bodies. British police have said very few of the victims were carrying official identification and that they hope to identify the dead through fingerprints, dental records and DNA, as well as photos from friends and relatives. As of Sunday, up to 24 Vietnamese families have reported to local authorities that their family members were missing, 10 in Hà Tĩnh and 14 in Nghệ An. Both are central Vietnamese provinces, with Nghệ An being one of Vietnam's poorest areas and a hotspot for human trafficking. While another Northern Irishman was arrested in Dublin over the weekend, 3 others were held over the deaths in Britain have been released on bail. Nghệ An police have also arrested 4 suspects and are hunting another for their involvement in 2 separate rings, sending Vietnamese citizens abroad. Now, Hong Kong has fallen into a recession, and the city's financial secretary warned that the administrative region is unlikely to achieve annual economic growth this year. This as it reels from more than 5 months of anti-government protests that show no signs of relenting, and various sectors forced to bear huge losses from the ongoing disruptions. Financial Secretary Paul Chan wrote in a blog post yesterday that after seeing negative growth in the second quarter, the situation continued in the third quarter, with possibilities that the full-year economic growth will also end up negative. Chan added the protest blow to the economy is comprehensive, citing emergency cases of falling visitor arrivals and dropping hotel occupancy rates. With these, Chan urgently called for an end to violence and appealed to the public to unite against the notion of burning together, referencing a popular slogan among anti-government protesters. Earlier this month, Hong Kong's chief executive Carrie Lam warned of an unprecedented challenge as the city entered recession in a 3-month period. The government will also be announcing its advance estimates for the third quarter on Thursday. Protesters have routinely torched storefronts and businesses, including banks, and vandalized the city's metro system. A number of mall operators also have been forced to shutter for multiple days over the past few months. Now let's hop on to our daily segment Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. No problem can be solved using violence. On Friday evening, 2 men ruthlessly bashed a driver who was believed to be drunk for allegedly causing an accident at Taman Sri Sinar in Senggambut, Kuala Lumpur. Video of the road brawl then went viral on Facebook. Here are the details. It was reported that the 7:44 p.m. incident happened when the 31-year-old man, allegedly intoxicated, was driving his white Perodua Viva against traffic flow before the car crashed into a motorcycle which then hit a grey Proton Persona. This caused the Persona driver and his passenger to confront the Viva driver over the crash. In the 39-second viral video, the two parties were seen exchanging vulgar words before the situation escalated and the enraged man in red and black started to brutally assault the Viva driver. According to City Traffic Investigation and Enforcement Department Chief ACP Zulkifli Yahya, the case is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. He added the motorcyclist suffered injuries on his hands and legs and is currently being treated at the Desa Park City Medical Centre. However, there were no other details on the rest involved in the accident. Authorities also said statements from both drivers have been recorded and that their urine and blood samples have been sent to the chemistry department for further action. We're back with our Bizline segment. Turkmenistan plans to extend the production sharing contract (PSC) with Petronas for another 10 years until 2038. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the wish was expressed by the country's president Gurbanguly Berdi Mohamedov during their meeting last night.
Jadi ini menunjuk bahawa kita telah memuaskan hati mereka dan saya yakin mereka akan bertimbang pemberian concession yang lain kepada Petronas. Di sini Petronas boleh buat take over 100% daripada kegiatan mengeluarkan minyak dan gas.
In 1996, Petronas was given a 32-year PSC until 2028 to produce natural gas in the Block 1 offshore area of the Caspian Sea. Turkmenistan has the world's fourth largest underground reserves of natural gas after Russia, Iran and Qatar. It boasts 20 trillion cubic meters of proven reserves of natural gas. Petronas is involved 100% in the production of oil and gas in Turkmenistan, but only 15% in Azerbaijan.
Meanwhile, Tun Dr. Mahathir hopes to see more interactions and close working relationships between Malaysia and Turkmenistan in various sectors, especially the economy. In his 2-day visit to the country, the Prime Minister said both countries can cooperate in various fields to develop their respective country, as both nations shared many similarities.
But now we have an opportunity to meet each other, and I have had long discussions with the President, and it is quite obvious that we have many things in common as well as many things that we can exchange views or information to enhance the development of our country.
Tun Dr. Mahathir also pointed out that sectors that the two countries could work on together include the aerospace industry, as it needs a large supply network.
I had to explain that
Malaysia's improved ranking from 15 to 12 in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business 2020 report is testimony to the government's success in reforming the country's institutions. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng today said the position was Malaysia's best since 2015 and attributed it largely to changes in regulations that made starting a business and dealing with construction permits easier.
In a statement, Lim said the government remains committed to implementing its institutional reforms while supporting economic growth in line with the overall Shared Prosperity Vision 2030. The Doing Business report surveys regulations governing business activities in the economies, which are then ranked according to their ease of doing business scores based on quantitative indicators of the regulations. Malaysia also rose to fourth easiest place to do business in Asia after Singapore, Hong Kong and South Korea, a step up from the previous year. Lim also said Malaysia was among the best improved economies in the World Bank's 2018 Worldwide Governance Indicators WGI published earlier this month. The WGI measures institutional quality across 214 countries by accounting for 6 dimensions: accountability, political stability, government effectiveness, regulatory quality, rule of law and corruption, with Malaysia improving in 5 out of the 6 dimensions compared to 2017's score. He also said Malaysia's positive performance in both indices will play a critical role in keeping Malaysia's sovereign credit ratings high. Besides that, Lim said the domestic economy continues to exhibit resilience, with the industrial production index growth accelerating from 1.2% to 1.9% year-on-year in August due to sustained manufacturing growth and recovery in mining output. The September inflation rate was recorded at 1.1%, a figure Lim said was conducive for private consumption expansion.
Tesla has begun a trial production of its Model 3 cars in its new Gigafactory in Shanghai this month. In a letter to shareholders, the company said it is already producing entire vehicles from the body to paint to general assembly during the trial period. The company, however, did not mention how long its trial production would last. The company explained on its website that its Model 3 cars will be made from a metal structure that is a mixture of aluminum and steel. The car will feature multiple cameras, a forward-facing radar, as well as ultrasonic sensors to detect nearby cars. According to TechCrunch, Tesla had made a deal with the Chinese government to construct a car production factory in Shanghai in 2018 and broke ground on its Chinese factory only 10 months ago. The deal was notable as this is the first time a foreign car manufacturing company has been allowed to open up its own factory in China without a joint alliance with a local partner. Tesla also explained in its letter to shareholders that the company is in its final stages of selecting a site to build its Gigafactory in Europe. The company says its European factory will manufacture Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y cars.